manhood is very closely linked to the ability to procreate.
Men, they don't really have obvious warning signs that says, something is wrong.
Taking charge over your reproductive health is not something embarrassing. Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Beyond the Headlines, the go-to space for the top stories that made the headlines and more. I'm Amalina Kamal.
And I'm Alina Koshi.
Now, in our previous discussion, on our previous episode of course, we actually already explored the factors contributing to delayed parenthood and the fertility treatments available in Malaysia, right? Today, why we're expanding the discourse is because the issue of delayed parenthood or the decline in population is not necessarily happening within a particular period. It's like throughout decades. And the attention towards it obviously focuses on two equally important discourse. The aspects of accessibility to care, which is cost, essentially, and the often overlooked topic, or at least the role of men in the reproductive health. Basically, the whole fertility journey.
I mean, population decline, the idea to access fertility care. I mean, that is just one aspect of why population is declining. We've talked about men's reproductive health before, but are we really having enough conversations about it? So many men, they think, I'm okay, I have no symptoms, everything should be okay. The women, it's like it's all about you and your eggs and your ovaries, whether they are viable or not.
You're too old, things like that.
Correct. And you know what? Honestly, if you're going to be nonchalant about things, then perhaps you should be worried. Because the absence of obvious signs doesn't necessarily mean there are no concerns.
True.
Take note of that.
And since actually we brought a female doctor, fertility doctor, to talk about the reproductive health, I think it's only apt for us to also, speak to a male doctor, fertility doctor, which can perhaps get you, especially our male audience, to actually pay attention. So I do want to introduce our guest on set, Dr. Ivan Lee, Senior Assistant Director of the Subfertility Unit from the National Population and Family Development Board, LPPKN. Welcome, Dr. Ivan.
Hello there.
Doctor, obviously, fertility is not necessarily a new topic, but it's still taboo in certain communities. Only because they don't know where to access the information, right?
The first thing is, we were saying, but 1 in 6 couples face fertility issues.
Yep.
I mean, that's something that sounds pretty. It's like it's closer than you think. It's sometimes we think that it's not our issue, it's not our problems, the couple next door, but. It's a prevalent thing. And also another thing that I was very curious about is male infertility, because again, data from LPPKN, it showed that 60% of sperm analysis tests are found to be abnormal. So I just wanted to know about these swimmers. Are they swimming well? What's happening?
Yeah, and first of all, like what is an abnormal swimmer, if you might say?
Yeah, why are they not swimming?
So I'll start with a little bit of a background to the result that we have just, or the data that we've just shared earlier.
Yeah.
So, internal tests from LPPKN on semen analysis from year 2010 to 2019 identified that about 40 to 60% of semen analysis or semen tests at LPPKN were found to be abnormal. But I think the important thing to bring to context here is that these are semen samples tested from couples who are having difficulties getting children. So it doesn't mean that if I go out in the streets,
it's like
I pick
60%.
one 60%. That means 6 out of 10 men, and they will have abnormal sperm.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that, but it hits close to the heart, knowing that it is such a high prevalence of sperm abnormalities.
Right.
And just to give a little bit of description, what we consider abnormal is that normally when we look at a semen analysis result, we are looking at 3 major things. Okay, so one is we're looking at the concentration, meaning how many million sperms in 1 milliliter of semen. Secondly, we are looking at the movement, what we call as the progressive motility, how well the swimmers swim. Yeah, it's no good if you are swimming backwards, sideways, but
no
you need to swim straight. Straight. So, and the third one is their morphology. How do they look?
Okay.
They should have one head, a nice and slim neck, and straight straight good tail lah. So there are a lot of characteristics and criteria that we can't go in depth today. But these are the three major parameters that we look for when we assess if someone's sperm is normal or abnormal.
So just to clarify out there, even if a woman's like egg is healthy in that sense, but if the sperm is not basically meeting the checklist that you've just mentioned, right? Or I mean, sorry, not meeting the checklist, but it's like perfect lah. So you cannot conceive properly.
So absolutely, it takes two to tango. We know
Right.
that. But it's not a direct correlation that if the sperm is abnormal, they'll never be able to conceive naturally and spontaneously. But when the sperm is abnormal, it drastically reduces the chance of spontaneous conception. Yeah.
But because we're talking about swimming, right? Because I'm just curious, why would why would a direction matter in that sense? Because to make sure that it travels properly towards the egg, is
Correct.
it?
Yeah. Because we know that a male sperm has only about 3 to 5 days of being able to survive in the uterus. So being able to swim purposefully to the right location within the time frame given to meet the egg, which also has its own time frame of meeting the sperm, is extremely important to ensure that fertilization occurs when we want it to.
Because it's like a game of luck, if you ask me, right? Because how would you control the direction of the swimmers? I mean, in terms of the lifespan, I totally understand it, but these are little things that we don't necessarily think about.
I think it's like like we've been seeing Odysseus. It's not a promotion of the movie, but it's like finding its way home lah against all the hostile environment that goes on. So it's still something. I was just thinking about when you say about motility, right? Was it motility where you have to have like a certain number of sperm per
Concentration.
Concentration. Okay, so that's also interesting because it just takes one sperm to hit an egg, but you need to have a few million.
All
A few million.
I think your description of Odyssey and how difficult it is to reach home is a very apt illustration of what it is like for a sperm to meet the egg.
I feel you, bros. Okay, yes.
But why do you think men's reproductive health still requires the needed attention today?
Yeah.
Is it because again, it's quite funny to me because a lot of people are saying actually men are not afraid to come out and get checked. But is it because of selfish reasons, not necessarily because of family planning?
The importance of men coming out to screen is not something that is only important now, but it's been important always. The only thing is that these days we are more aware about the need for men to screen as well. But there are barriers that are in place or barriers that are there that are big challenges that seem insurmountable for men. Firstly is sometimes men are unaware that because we know that there's a stereotype out there that whenever it comes to infertility,
it's always the women's fault.
The women's fault.
Yes.
But we know that is not true. Science has proven it time and time again that that's not true. As we say, it takes two to tango.
Right.
So one challenge is maybe being unaware about the fact that they too play a very important role in conception. The second challenge that men may face is the fear of stigmatization, the fear of losing their identity as their masculinity. Because we know that when we look into history, we know that manhood is very closely linked to the ability to procreate. And being labeled as infertile is something that I think really hurts any man, any person, whether it be female or male. I think it hurts everyone, but especially the male. Because they are traditionally seen as the one.
Virile.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so it goes against the very essence of manhood, if you would say that. Yeah, and that's why it's the challenge. So I think that those are the two challenges that comes on the top of my head lah.
Would the principle apply for, let's say, for instance, like if you know that is somewhere along your family is actually having, or let's say in a group of siblings, right? You know your brother is having issues with having a family or starting a family, and then you want to start a family too. I mean, does that challenge apply as well? Meaning to say, like, it's by default, like, you know what, I'm not going to go and check myself.
So I think it really depends on the person as well. So that you could have individual A who knows that, let's say, okay, my brothers are all struggling to get to get a baby. So why not I check? Why not I take that initiative and go and get myself checked to find out if there is something I can do to overcome that challenge, that genetic challenge. Or you could have, like what you said, individual B who says, since all my brothers are struggling, I might as well give up. So I think it's not a direct so-called response to a family history, but basically how an individual reacts to that. But I think it's also important that I think sometimes men are not aware about the technology and also the options that they have in case they encounter certain difficulties in terms of male factor infertility. So by us doing this and raising awareness, I think it gives men not just the feeling that if I am diagnosed as having a sperm abnormality, for example, there are options that I can use to help overcome these challenges. I think knowing that would really change the ball game, really change the picture in terms of wanting to get screened. Because if you wouldn't want to get screened for something that you can't be treated for, right? Yeah.
But because it's funny, because when people already come to LPPKN, it's like they already have an issue with fertility and things like that. And Malaysia's average age of first marriage and first childbirth is rising. Are you seeing more couples coming only after fertility has already declined? And also, out of sheer curiosity, right? Should single men get themselves checked?
Okay.
Even before idea approaching fertility?
So I think I'll answer the first question first regarding the age. Of course, we noticed that the majority of people coming, I would say, are coming after the prime age for fertility. Let's say after the age of 35. A big chunk of them.
Wow.
I wouldn't quote the figure here exactly, but a big chunk of them are coming later. We know that they are coming more than the recommended time frame. By the way, the recommended time frame for when someone should come for infertility screening, for those the wife is aged less than 35, they should be coming after 1 year of actively trying for a baby. But those above 35, they should come within 6 months for screening. That is the international consensus and recommendation out there.
Right.
So yes, people are coming late, but with the initiatives that LPPKN have started, like the boy program, we are on the ground actually seeing people come much earlier, and that is something it's a breath of fresh air for us who are seeing patients with infertility every day.
Yeah. Since you mentioned about the boy program, right? What actually has surprised you the most in terms of requests, in terms of maybe the IUI, right? It's just one area that LPPKN or the boy program can focus on, but in the future perhaps can expand to other things as well.
Okay, so actually BUAI stands for Bantuan Rawatan Kesuburan dan Advokasi Infertility. So it's a multi-pronged program, multi-pronged approach, meaning that we're not just focusing on treatment, but we are focusing also on advocacy, raising awareness among general Malaysians and Malaysian couples about the need to come for early screening. We are also subsidizing screening. So we have multiple screening tests that we are giving at very subsidized rates. For example, we have anti-Mullerian hormone tests to check for ovarian reserve. We have HIFO-C to check for tubal patency, HSG. So there are a lot of other screening subsidies. And then moving on to that third component, also subsidized treatment. So advocacy, screening, early screening, and treatment. So what has surprised me about BUAI is that we have received a very encouraging response, definitely, even going beyond what we expect. And above all, I think what really encourages me as a doctor who sees fertility patients is that we are seeing people achieve their dreams, number one. We are seeing people come earlier, number two. And overall, we are seeing an increase in the awareness, not just among couples who are trying to have children, but also among grandparents, parents, among friends. So the message passes around, and I think that is the main goal of BUAI, not just doing treatment and helping people achieve their dreams of being a parent, but also by advocating, by raising awareness, and by making it clear that fertility is a journey that involves both husband and wife. A journey that has to be started early, and a journey that has many options and treatments that can help a couple achieve their dream of parenthood.
Very well said, Dr. Ivan. But we focus still on buai, right? Where the program at the moment in terms of assistance in the treatment is the IUI, the intrauterine
Uterine
insemination.
yeah.
Thank God. I didn't want to.
Intrauterine
mouthful, right?
insemination.
Yes,
Right.
and it's up to 2 cycles, right, for a particular couple. But what happens when that 2 cycle is up? Like, do couples can they actually reach out to LPPKN again? Can they like reapply with the buai program, or are there other options that they can turn to?
I think that's a very good question. So I think one, it's important to, in terms of why 2, why not 3, why not 4? I think there are a lot of factors that are considered when making the decision on how many cycles to be provided. But ultimately, we know that the international consensus on how many times you should do intrauterine insemination ranges from about 3 to a maximum of 6. And overall, if you look at the various organizations that are regulating IUI or even regulating fertility treatment, we see that the advantages or the success rates of IUI is maximized at about 2 to 3 IUI cycles. Above that, there could be other options that may be more favorable for the patient. So back to the question about what are the options if there's this couple who has tried twice under program buai and they have not achieved their dream just yet. So normally the medical team at LPPKN and also the participating buai centers, what we will do is we will sit down with the couple, we will analyze the treatment cycles that have been done, we will see what has been done right, what has been done not so well, what could we improve. And then from that discussion and that joint decision, we will decide whether we should proceed with another cycle of IUI or it is time to go for something more advanced like IVF. But the important caveat to note here is that LPPKN, with or without buai, provides very affordable infertility treatment for the whole range, from timed intercourse, intrauterine insemination, and also in vitro fertilization or ICSI. Yeah.
So that means after the 2 cycles, then of course the couple is given the option whether to proceed, and even the rates that are given to them are generally very
affordable.
competitive and affordable as compared if they
Correct.
sought help anywhere else lah.
And to be fair, like for the buai program, because it's targeted to the lower income groups, right?
It's the B40 and the M40,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, we're targeting those with a household income of less than 10,000 ringgit. Yeah.
In terms of take up, are you able to tell us like which area, perhaps like the urban or the more out of state, out of city sort of take up is higher?
Buai has made the priority of ensuring equitable access to all of Malaysia. Of course, we can't cover every single square feet in Malaysia, but overall, the centres are very strategically situated to ensure that it is not too far to travel to a centre which offers buai.
Yeah, because also in the process of having to make a baby or conceive or whatever, the journey, then the process itself needs to be, not too stressful. I want to say stress-free, but the idea of like having to try and going for appointment and, the back and forth, the mental exercise of it all.
That's a very interesting point that you have brought up, actually. If you look at studies and research, it has shown that the stress of a couple who are experiencing infertility has been equated or studied to be almost the same as someone with a chronic illness such as cancer. Although it's something that we sometimes take for granted, the strain, the stress, the toil of trying to achieve the dream of parenthood really has a huge impact, not just on the physical, but also the mental and emotional faculties of a couple.
Daughter, I have a question, because I think a lot of us do have this, because sometimes you hear stories of like, this couple having to try for years and years, and then when they give up, and then suddenly without any assistance or whatever,
Suddenly they
can
have
get
a baby.
a baby. So the idea of fertility here, from a doctor's perspective, right, is it something that can be calculated, or even in your, maybe you can share some surprise stories, couple, to just keep the hopes up, at least for our couples who are like watching and seeing.
So I would say that conception is a miracle of God. It's basically a God-given gift.
Absolutely.
So meaning that no matter how much we try with science to control, science can only help us predict, help us optimize, and help us maximize the chances of someone conceiving. But ultimately, we know that there's only that much that we can do. in terms of the question, can someone achieve pregnancy despite spontaneously, despite multiple failed attempts? Yes, they definitely can. The chances may not be very high, but we remember that fertility is a dynamic process. Means that the semen results today may not be the same semen results that you'll get tomorrow. Changes happen.
So would you say, like, for couples, if they really want, just try until, but don't force to the point whereby you get stressed lah. But you just try and don't keep your hopes up. Or would you say, like, if it's too late, macam they're later in the age a bit, because you obviously, like, later pregnancy there's higher risk and stuff like that, right? So how?
Why? Because they have that. There are criterias, right? Because I think the couple has to be 35 years and under.
Below 37 years.
Below 37 years, and also attempting for their first child. Am I right? Or that's not a criteria
it's
anymore?
open to anyone who have primary, meaning that without a child, or secondary infertility, meaning that they have a previous, they have a child at home, their own child.
Okay, that's interesting. So you may have a first child, but you're trying for the second one, and
so I can explain how that came about. So one thing that is important to understand is that the stress of infertility, it is equal. I would say almost equally stressful for someone. Of course, it might be more stressful if you don't have a child, but we cannot discount the fact that someone who has a child and who has not achieved their desired family size, it can be very stressful on them as well. And I think that the government of Malaysia, Kementerian Pembangunan Wanita, Keluarga dan Masyarakat, and also LPPKN, the reason why we have included secondary infertility in as well is to ensure that every Malaysian couple who meets the criteria has the opportunity to achieve that desired family size or to achieve that dream of parenthood. Earlier, you very aptly put in the question that should someone keep just trying and trying and trying, because maybe one day they would strike gold and have that baby, that dream baby. I would say that trying is always important, but it's also equally important to know that we need early screening. That early screening gives us a more informed posture for us to know, actually, are we trying in vain? For example, if we do an early screening and we realize that both tubes are blocked, for example. So it is not, it means that trying month after month, year after year would be almost futile. And let's say if a man checks for semen analysis and realizes that there's no sperm at all, there are no swimmers. So that would mean that it would be a futile effort put in for so many years. So definitely try, but more important than just trying blindly is like what we emphasize in our boy hashtag, lebih awal lebih baik.
Basically, a good example would be like, you want to test out something, you want to do something, but you don't know where your specs are, right? Like where you don't do the, how do you say, when you do the analysis, so you don't know where you stand. You don't know where you stand, like at like the.
And something can be done about it. You know what I'm saying? Because if there's a case, like, because you said there's I think 3 aspects when you check for at a semen sample, right? But the thing is, in those 3 aspects, can something be done?
Yes, definitely.
Can something, say if they're not good swimmer, what can you do if you don't have a million sperm milliliter, for example?
How to intensify the concentration?
Are these things overcomable?
So I wouldn't say that in medicine there's a rule, there's no 100% for everything.
Right.
But in a lot of these cases, there are things that can be done to help improve not just the semen, not just the concentration, not just the progressive motility, but also the morphology. Because actually semen, the health of someone's sperm is very, very closely connected to a person's health. So for example, if a person is smoking away, eating lots of processed food, not sleeping enough, being very stressed, all these can and will contribute to eventually to a drop in semen or sperm quality. So that means that just by screening, someone can get that impetus to change their lifestyle. And
but here's a question, sorry, because like you're saying that it's linked to the overall health, right?
Correct.
Like, for example, like, because I had this interesting conversation just now with someone else, and he was saying things like, sometimes, the health of your semen, right, can also be linked to if say you have a heart issue or you have other issues in your body, does that also affect,
pre-existing conditions? Would it affect the
fertility?
Pre-existing conditions,
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's like I said, there's no 100% rule, but if we were to generalize, fertility and health are so closely intertwined.
Right.
Yeah, it means that if someone is maintaining their health, doing what is necessary to eat healthy, to sleep well, to ensure that they avoid any habits that could be detrimental to their health, generally it would always bode well for their fertility, unless they have something like a genetic disorder, or unless they have something of an injury that has made the organ that is producing these gametes or these cells unable to function optimally. If there is none of these other factors, in general, the way to better fertility normally is through trying to achieve better health. That's why I always tell my patients try to be the most healthy version of yourself. I can't guarantee that would bring back your fertility or improve it, but you will never lose when you're aiming to be a healthier you. Yeah.
But how much of male infertility today is actually preventable?
So in terms of semen abnormalities, I wouldn't put, like I said, because there's different percentages given by different studies, but I would say that a huge proportion of male infertility is lifestyle related.
So, for instance, you mentioned smoking. That's lifestyle. Maybe this person, not to say is having weight issues, but has let go in that sense. Macam, you know what, don't take care of everything. Obesity is one thing.
Obesity is a big contributor.
Maybe perhaps like an illness or something that we don't know is actually closely linked to infertility that you like to highlight.
So, for example, mumps. Mumps is basically an infection that you can get during childhood that can, in years to come, cause an impact towards spermatogenesis or the production of sperms in the future. That's just an example. But mainly when it comes to, as what we've said, when we talk about health, there can be certain habits that can be detrimental to sperm production as well. For example, going to a hot sauna, it's been proven.
Seriously,
even even doing this, even putting a hot laptop on your lap, it has been proven by studies that because basically the sperm needs an optimal temperature for production. So by basically when someone comes to LPPKN or the National Population Family Development Board, it's not just about giving them quick fire treatment options. Firstly, after completing screening, they may realize that they don't need treatment at all, that things are looking good and that they have time to try again. So that could be one outcome. But the second outcome could be that when they come to us, it is a wake-up call to change, to improve their lifestyle.
The habits are.
And that may not only reap benefits for their fertility, but also for their longevity in terms of their life. I always remind my patients, like, you're going to be a father soon. You're going to need the energy to chase after your toddler. So you need to ensure that you cut down that weight. You need to ensure that you stop that smoking habit, because that would not only bring detriment to you, but also to your child in the future. Yeah.
But what are the, because male infertility, sometimes it's not as talked about as other things, but what are some of the biggest myths that you have encountered, that LPPKN has encountered about male fertility?
So I think the number one myth is that infertility is not a male problem.
Yeah.
I think that's the main myth that I would say that we can be mythbusters and bust that today. Okay.
Right.
So male or husbands share almost half of the reasons for why a couple struggle to get children. That's the first myth that I can say that's very clear cut. The second clear cut is the myth that smoking or all these unhealthy habits, that they have very little impact. The lifestyle has very little impact on infertility. I have patients who say, my friend said I've been smoking for 2 decades and see, I have 5-6 children. It's not a problem. So fertility is a very personal thing. We cannot say that, if you smoke 100% you won't have children. It doesn't work that way. But we can say that if you smoke, there is a very high likelihood that eventually it would affect your fertility. And if not your fertility, definitely your health.
I have a myth here. Pakai seluar ketat. Like tight clothing. Is that an issue? Because you mentioned earlier, sauna is one thing, meaning prolonged heat and stuff. So
definitely. So anything that can increase the temperature of the what we call the scrotal region of the man, or the groin area of the man, can affect fertility, can affect sperm production. So whatever you think,
Wow.
bathing in hot sauna, wearing extra tight clothing,
For prolonged
putting a
periods
laptop,
lah,
yes,
yeah.
for prolonged period. It's not something that, oh, if I bathe in the sauna today, if I go into a sauna today, I'll have wet sperms tomorrow. It's not a direct impact, but it's accumulated through the years, through the months.
Just to lighten up the discourse, tak apa, it's
Yeah.
okay, because locally, that's why you've got our pakcik-pakcik dulu pakai kain pelikat, the kains and everything.
Exactly.
That's like,
They hung loose.
they and to be fair, like betul lah, like macam you let it breathe for a little
Right.
bit. So
But
it's good.
above that, if we look at our pakcik or makcik-makcik
Yeah.
in the kampung, they normally live very healthy lifestyles. I mean,
Correct.
in terms of their food intake, very natural. In terms of their habits, waking up at the same time, sleeping at the same time. So all these points to the importance of not just saying, come and do fertility treatment, but come and check yourself out and see what you can do to improve not just your fertility, but your health in general.
Doctor, one more thing. What about steroid? I mean, taking, right? How impactful is it? How detrimental is it in terms of the fertility care here?
So that's a very good point. Okay, so steroids are actually naturally produced in our body. So whenever we have steroid intake externally, whether it be anabolic steroids to build some muscles or even chronic diseases that require steroids for a long period of time, there's always a chance that the body realizes that since you're getting it from somewhere, I can stop producing it. And when the body stops producing it, it also, for men especially, it also affects the sperm. And I've seen patients who have taken anabolic steroids completely go from having normal sperms to having no sperms at all.
The only
Can
reason
that be reversed?
So if caught early, and if caught at the right time, meaning that not too prolonged, there is a chance of stopping the steroids and it regenerating and it improving itself. Yeah.
Because I wanted to say the only reason why I'm asking about this particular question on steroids specifically, because you know how in Malaysia, basically gym going, fitness
Yeah.
centric sort of like lifestyle is the way to go. It's so much so it's like become a trend now, and then you've got all these events like circuit events and everything. So sometimes you question whether or not if people want to fit a certain lifestyle to look healthy, be healthy, if they have assistance in that sense, and then they want to have a family later on, that prolonged
that look?
exposure
Yeah.
to supplements, to additional aids, like in that sense,
Okay.
would that have that impact? Because I want to see if there is like statistics actually showing LPPKN, do you trace that even for a healthy living individual
Okay.
still have fertility issues, maybe because it's traced back to you know, your gym junkie because you don't know what you take, you know.
So it's good to have that desire to be healthy, that desire to go to the gym, to work out and to trim down. It's a very good desire, but the most important thing is to do it in a healthy way. There's achieving that body that you would like to achieve can be done either healthily through exercise, through a strict healthy diet, through sleeping on time. Sleeping actually has a huge impact towards weight loss and weight gain as well. Or you can do it unhealthily, the shortcut way, by taking steroids, by taking supplements that are not approved by the Ministry of Health. So although we don't have that data that I can present right now, the message is seek to be healthy, seek to look healthy, to be healthy in a healthy way.
I mean, male fertility issues normally they don't have symptoms,
Not
like
necessarily, yeah.
outright obvious symptoms, right? But are there any warning signs like that should prompt a man to seek an assessment?
Yes,
Because
definitely.
a lot of people are saying, because sometimes men are very
know,
like
we all-
egoistic kind, they don't want to go until they get really
Correct.
sick, and then they said
And like for women, like okay, say our periods are irregular. So there's always something to indicate that maybe we should. But men, they don't really have obvious, blinking warning signs that says something is wrong.
So not necessarily. So maybe sometimes being men, we may not take certain symptoms very seriously. So
Right.
there are certain very general symptoms, sort of, for example, not losing hair, putting on a lot of weight, for example, also losing the desire for intercourse. So all these are, although it may be just put down to, oh, I'm growing old or I'm getting tired due to work, all these could be the initial telltale signs that something is going wrong.
Right.
Sorry.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Sure.
losing hair, lack of the desire for
Libido, decreased
intimacy.
libido, yeah.
Decreased
Yeah, decreased libido
and
lah basically. Yeah. So
Generalized
these are-
fatigue, all these could point to actually issues with testosterone, which is the main hormone that is important for sperm production. Other than that, there can be more overt, more obvious signs such as pain in the testicular region and all that. That could be more obvious. But overall, like you said, the signs may not be as obvious as that seen in the female population, but through these awareness, through sessions like these, I
Yeah.
think we are putting it out. If you feel something is not right, get checked.
Get checked. Right.
I do want to ask this before we close the show, because we've talked extensively about male fertility or infertility, the warning signs, how even the process of fertility journey ni is like it's a two-person thing, right? It takes
Yes.
two to tango. But and when it comes to moving forward, at least for LPPKN, right? What would you I suppose define as a success matrix? At least maybe not 10 years, perhaps not even 5, maybe in the next year alone.
Okay. We at LPPKN, we are driven by what we see on the ground. So that I think the unique thing about LPPKN is that we don't just drive policy. We are on the ground and we meet patients on a daily basis, and we're driven by their journey, their story. And answering that question, what is our success? So our success, so LPPKN, when it comes to fertility, it's not something that is isolated. It is part of an entire huge matrix, what we call as a policy dasar kasih keluarga negara. It's a huge policy, and embedded within that policy is the desire to allow equitable, accessible infertility care and reproductive health knowledge to general Malaysians. So what would be a success for us is that granting firstly, awareness about the importance of reproductive health, and secondly, giving access or widening access to Malaysians in general to obtain the infertility care or the reproductive health care that they need, whether it be infertility or even family planning, because we know LPPN started off as the family planning board. When we say we want to provide equitable, accessible fertility care and also reproductive health care, we are driven by this concept that we have a very wide network of clinics, almost 50 clinic no sejahteras that are scattered abroad around Malaysia. These 50 clinics, they offer counselling, basic infertility counselling, and also family planning. And these are basically the main channels in which people can access care. So let's say if they reach these clinics, they then can be, let's say if they really need infertility treatment, they can be moved on to the 4 main infertility centres that we have, which is in Kuching, Sarawak, in Johor Bahru, in Penang, and also here in KL. And moving forward, like we said, the success can be measured in what we want to see in a year's time or what we can see in the future. LPPKN has been given the blessing by the Malaysian government and the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development to pioneer Malaysia's first national subfertility centre in Shah Alam. So if you can imagine a network, 50 clinics addressing the needs of the people,
Right.
channeling to 4 centres that can start treatment and start getting them screened and all that. And then if the issues are not resolved in that 4 centres, an APEX center that is the state-of-the-art center with all the technology that is required to give our Malaysians the best chance of being a parent.
What is the average time like? I mean, speaking of time, like say they are in the journey from screening until you get your treatments and all that, right? So how long does that usually take between screening and treatments?
So I would say that because we know that fertility runs in cycles, so every cycle is an opportunity to treat. So I would say that in general, in LPPKN, it takes about a month to get screened before you start treatment. And every cycle is an opportunity for treatment.
That's true.
Wonderful.
To be fair, that's true, because like I mean, the moment you decide to expand, to grow your keturunan or at least your family lah, basically. I mean, you can think of LPPKN in mind lah, in terms of what your journey is. It doesn't necessarily mean when you want to have a baby then you have that intervention in that sense. And also the boy program is just for a certain group, right? But outside of that, as you mentioned, you can just go to LPPKN to get
Still,
to
we
get
can still go.
assistance. Yeah,
Is there like a waiting period? Like how
So-
long is a waiting period when a couple wants to say they want to have a family and they want to go? So what is the procedure like?
So LPPKN, we use an online system of registration,
Right.
which really cuts down on the waiting time, and we use an appointment-based system as well. So you don't end up with a very long queues in trying to even register yourself. Everything is done online,
Right.
and then after you've registered yourself online, you can get an appointment. Normally, it's quite quick. Of course, there are multiple steps in terms of fertility screening, but generally, for someone to come and see an LPPKN doctor or nurse, there's not many hurdles that should prevent them from doing so.
Yeah, don't limit yourself in that sense also lah, kan? Because also it's like there's no, I mean the time frame that you give is just ideal time
It's
frame,
just
but it can be
because every
adjusted
journey is
accordingly,
different too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, doctor, I guess what you've just discussed is actually LPPKN's broader vision in terms of making fertility support more accessible nationwide. And yeah, that's new knowledge to me. The Subfertility Center there
Yes.
in Shah Alam. So perhaps we'll be looking forward to what comes out of it in terms of knowledge or in terms of intervention to
Correct,
care. I mean care intervention processes, right? Again, I think I want to remind our audience is that it's never too late for a person if they want to relook at their reproductive health, especially for those who are trying. But even for
Absolutely.
those who are not trying, because when we talk about healthcare, right, it's always, because earlier I mentioned some men are a bit more egotistical to even admit that they have problems. It's only because they will only look at health when it looks good. Because when the whole gym junkie approach and everything, because I've been looking at a lot of people going into healthcare only when they want to look and feel good, the physical aspect, but not necessarily when they want to grow or baby or fertility.
But the bigger message is this: there's no shame in finding out, about your reproductive health. I think there's absolutely no
Obviously.
shame, because at the end of the day, if couples want a child, I mean, there's no shame in finding out and addressing issues. And also, I think by addressing issues like, for example, infertility and all that, right, you also get to understand that it is all interconnected with your greater health.
Yes,
Right,
that's
so
a very
it
important
is a
point, yeah.
lifestyle change for the better, and I just hope that more couples who see this show will be able to make that decision to in the right direction, have
I mean,
a child,
Yeah.
change your lifestyle, and yeah,
For the better,
Fabulous.
right? I mean, one liner is that being proactive in taking charge over your reproductive health is not something embarrassing lah.
it's not an
Right.
embarrassment, it's not a stigma, but it's a necessary thing.
So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Dr. Ivan Lee from LPPKN, Senior Assistant Director for the Subfertility Unit, right? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Don't forget to also turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. You'll not only get NSC Beyond the Headlines update, other NSC Online's news reports will be delivered to you. And to Elena, thank you so much for being my co-host.
Yes, it's been fun learning about swimming.
About swimming, about male reproductive health and all that. And to our audience, follow us on our socials. We're everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, and X. My name is Amayna Kamal, and we'll see you next week.